Welcome to this introductory video on externalities in environmental economics. Market failure result in inefficiencies in the allocation of scarce resources. One of the important reasons for market failure as far as environmental goods are concerned is the absence of well-defined property rights, which was discussed in the previous video. Externality is a second important cause of market failure with regards to environmental resources. Natural resources are often non-rival in character and non-excludable and are subject to externalities. Let me raise a question here. Have you ever stopped to think about the impact of high beam lights on the used by vehicle drivers at night on city roads? Did you think about how unwittingly it was blinding the fellow drivers and passengers on the road? Or maybe you would like to think about the benefit you receive when your neighbor leaves her portico lights on during the night, thus spreading light in front of your house too. These are two simple examples of externalities that we experience in our day-to-day lives. Externalities are a fascinating and valuable concept in economics, particularly in the field of environmental economics. As social beings, we are interconnected and interdependent, and our actions have got consequences which extend well beyond ourselves. Externality is one such example. Externalities are a common occurrence in our day-to-day lives, yet they are frequently misunderstood and often disregarded. Understanding the concept of externalities will help us in analyzing many of the environmental problems that we face today, including climate change. And this will help us work towards creating a planet that is both prosperous and ecologically sound. In economics, it is important to trace the development of an idea. The concept of externalities in some way is traced back to Marshall, who in 1890 wrote about economies and diseconomies of scale. This idea was further developed by Pigot in his 1921 book, The Economics of Welfare, where he explained or where he developed the concepts such as marginal private benefits and social cost to explain these outcomes. We find Milton Friedman, who wrote his book Capitalism and Freedom in 1962, write about these concepts in more detailed manner, and which he called neighborhood effects or spillover effects. William Baumol and Wallace Oates applied these concepts to the emerging issues of environmental cost in 1975. The book was The Theory of Environmental Policy. Today, the subject is of immense relevance to researchers, to policymakers, and students of environmental economics. So now let us go to define externality. For an action to be called an externality, it must satisfy two conditions. The first condition is that the action of the producer or the consumer enters into the welfare function of the bystander or the third party. These actions are unintended and without malice. That means the bystander is affected by the action who is not directly involved in that action per se. He is just at the receiving end of the action of the producer or the consumer. The second condition for an event to be called an externality must identify the generator of the externality. The generator of the beneficial outcome, though unintended, does not receive compensation for the benefit he provides to the bystander. The generator of the harm does not pay any penalty to the victim of his action. Let's take another example. A firm decides to build a factory near a residential area and emits pollution which causes harm to the residents in the neighborhood. The residents in the neighborhood are not compensated for the harm caused by the factory owner. Another example, a firm chooses to install solar panels on rooftops to generate electricity. It only provides benefits to the firm but also generates benefits to others in society with the production of clean energy. However, the firm does not get compensated for the unintended benefit it provides to the society. Both benefits and harm on a third party is not captured by the price mechanism. Rather, it occurs outside of the price mechanism or market mechanism and hence called externalities. These two concepts are important to study the subject of production externality and consumption externality. Let's come to the first concept called marginal private benefits. Marginal private benefit is the additional benefit which an individual or a group receives from consuming one additional unit of a good or service. These benefits are considered private because they accrue solely to the individual or entity. Example, if someone buys a new car, the private marginal benefits that they enjoy is increased mobility, convenience, and also status of owning a car. Now, this is not experienced by others. These are considered when an individual has to take a decision regarding consumption or production. Take another example. This installation of solar panel provides private marginal benefit to the firm in terms of reduced energy cost. The second concept in private social benefit is the concept of marginal external benefit. When the firm generates some benefit which is not accounted for, like in the case of the solar panel, which generates marginal external benefits in terms of reduced greenhouse gas emission and improved air quality for the community in general. These are unintended benefits enjoyed by third parties as a result of the firm's decision of installing solar panels on their rooftop. So we get marginal social benefit equaling marginal private benefit plus a marginal external benefit. So there is a private benefit and there is an external benefit. When we add them together, we get what is called as marginal social benefit. The social marginal benefit um, is important to consider when decisions have to be taken about production and consumption and to ensure that the full cost and benefits of a particular activity is taken into account. Now, that was the benefit side of an activity. Let's look at the cost side of this activity. We have to introduce the concept of private marginal cost. What is private marginal cost? Private marginal cost is the additional cost that an individual or a firm incurs to produce or consume an additional unit of good or service. These costs are specific to the producer and are not shared by others in society. For example, if a firm produces one more unit of a product, say a bicycle, the firm's private marginal cost may include the cost of additional raw material, labor, and energy required to produce that unit. These costs help the firm determine the profitability of producing an additional unit of a good or service. The second element of the social marginal cost is marginal external damages. So here the factory emits pollutants into the air or releases them into the water. It creates external cost by damaging the environment and negatively impacting public health. These costs do not enter into the market price of the good. Instead, it is borne by the society as a whole. And this is the external damage the plant causes to the environment or to that society. Now, so when we add up the private marginal cost and a marginal external damages, we get what is known as social marginal cost. So, external cost must be considered while taking decisions relating to production and consumption. Otherwise, they result in inefficiencies and distortions of the market. So, what are the effects of externality? Externalities result in market inefficiency. That means too much or too little of the good is produced. The externality does not provide incentive or disincentive to producers or consumers because they do not consider the external benefit and external cost that they generate. This in turn affects the abundance and quality of Earth's natural resources. Markets fail to introduce the required technological change for conserving the environment. In Hope you have enjoyed watching this video, and as an introductory video on externalities, it has given you the concept of social marginal cost and social marginal benefit. In the next video, we shall examine the production externalities. Thank you very much. I hope you have subscribed to the channel. In case you haven't, please do subscribe, click the like button, the share button, and write a comment or two. Thank you. Thank you very much.